is the 2019 sequel to the 2000 Shaft, which was a remake of Shaft, and it is directed by Tim Story, and it stars Jessie Usher, Samuel L. Jackson, Richard Roundtree, Alexandra Shipp, and Regina Hall. And this sequel to the remake, which was in a way also a sequel, it was originally released in theaters in the US like 1 month ago, the beginning of June, and now it's been dumped on Netflix almost worldwide. And that should already be a bad sign. But still, I gave this a shot because the original Shaft, it's a solid film. It has dated relatively poorly compared to other blaxploitation that I've watched, especially the ones with Pam Grier. But it's still a really good film, really fun, and Richard Roundtree was a riot in that film. Then came the 2000s Shaft, the remake, sequel, whatever you want to call it, starring Samuel L. Jackson by John Singleton, the late John Singleton, and that was also really good. Dare I say, I actually really like it more than the original in parts, especially because it had memorable villains. Samuel L. Jackson was great as usual. It was a very well paced, very intriguing, and just all around a solid film. And now we got this sequel to that film, which first of all, I doubt anyone wanted a sequel or asked for it. There was going to be one originally, but they completely changed their ideas, changed their mind, and now we got this sequel that's not good. And honestly, I would say it's barely a Shaft film, because the Shaft movies are blaxploitation flicks. And yes, the remake was a little bit more mainstream, of course, but there was intrigue, there were memorable characters, there were some fun moments, there was action, but this film is just a straight-up comedy, and a comedy that is bordering on being a parody of the other films. And while that might work, it actually really doesn't. And that's not to say that this is an unwatchable film, because it's enjoyable, okay? Like, you watch it, you're like, oh, you never laugh, you never say anything other than, what the hell was that scene? But other than that, it's a painfully flat and dull film to watch. Most importantly because this is directed by Tim Story, who was probably more famous for directing the previous two Fantastic Four films, the ones with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans. And this one, boy, this has to be one of the most generic and flat-looking films I've seen so far this year. There is no attempt at making the cinematography stand out. There is no interesting visual, no fun edit, no fun shot. There is literally no creativity in this film from a directorial point of view. It is dull as hell, boring from beginning to end. Literally anyone else could have made this film, you would barely notice. And as far as the narrative itself goes, it has a pretty lame excuse for a mystery plot that's just completely thrown in there to have an excuse to have Samuel L. Jackson interact with his son, played by Jessie Usher. And Jessie Usher is kind of a charisma vacuum. He's probably a talented actor, but this film does not play on his strengths that I don't know of, because it's one of those comedies, you know, the one kind of a buddy cop comedy where you have the straight man and the crazy man, and it plays so much on political correctness, like Samuel L. Jackson says something and the son says, no, why did you say that? That's not correct, you can't say this anymore, the world has changed. And this thematic of the world having changed could have worked, but in the end it actually proves the opposite. Like, they could keep hammering home how technology has changed the world, political correctness is important, yada yada yada, but then in the ending you still get the guns solve everything resolution, you get the women are completely objectified and useless. That's far from being progressive, so that was a big no-no. That just came off as mean-spirited almost in a way. But thankfully you get Samuel L. Jackson. He's always fun to watch on film. Richard Roundtree has a small part in the film, but he's great. He has a great screen presence. I just love the guy. And Alexandra Shipp and Regina Hall, I've liked them a lot in other things. They were good here, but they have barely anything to do. Even though Regina Hall probably has the funniest scene in the film, which isn't saying that much, unfortunately. But yeah, this was just completely uninspired. I really don't understand how this came to be, why this was financed, what they were expecting it was going to be. Because they were really expecting this to be a box office success, Shaft isn't a mainstream name. Other than Samuel L. Jackson, the other actors are barely known in the mainstream. It was baffling, truly a baffling choice. And the ultimate offender is that they never play the Shaft theme to the full. They never do. It's always cut off in one way or another. You never hear the wonderful voice of Isaac Hayes, and instead during the closing credits we get a completely shitty remix that was just... no, the final nail in the coffin. So I would not recommend the Shaft 2019 film. It's not Netflix for most of you, probably, so you can just pop it in and maybe enjoy it. You're not going to hate yourself, really, because, as I've said, it's not a boring film, it is completely superficially entertaining. But as someone who has really liked the previous Shaft films, this was a complete disappointment. And honestly, if you have to watch something, watch the trailer. It has the best jokes, it is edited well, and it gives you the impression of having watched a solid trailer for a solid film, which is completely the opposite of what this actually is. But still, guys, if you watched Shaft 2019 and which is your favorite Shaft movie, tell me in the comments below. Thanks for watching, to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.